So one of the things that's special about the D.school is we teach elective courses to Stanford graduate students. So we're the only place on campus where grad students from all 7 schools come together. So the experience of being there is like I was a journalism fellow and I was taking classes, and on my team I might have an MBA student and an engineer and a doctor and someone from the law school. And because we see the problem that we're trying to solve from different perspectives, then we have more of a chance of coming up with a unique solution to that problem because of our different expertise. Probably one of our best examples, now we have about 40 different classes every year and 1,200 students who come through the D.school. One of our flagship classes from the beginning is called Design for Extreme Affordability. And in that class, the students are partnered with rural villages in the developing world where they go and do empathy work, which is a big part of our process, travel to the country and talk to the people who they're trying to design a solution for, and then work together to create whatever that physical product solution is. So one of the best stories about this, and actually was on display here at the Autodesk Gallery, was a couple of years ago. There was the design brief was for on the border of India and Nepal, infant mortality rates are really high. And so the design challenge was, how do you design a lower cost baby incubator for hospitals? Because more incubators could cut down on infant mortality rates. The students, when they went to Nepal to do their empathy work, they went to the hospital, and the doctor at the hospital said, they looked around and the incubators were empty. And they asked the doctor, they said, why are the incubators empty? And the doctor said, well, most of the babies who they're born prematurely in the rural villages, and they die before they ever get to the hospital. So the students, even though none of them were, in that case, med students, and none of them were sort of materials experts or anything like that, they reframed the problem. They realized it wasn't about having more incubators in the hospital, it was how can we keep a baby warm in the village in order to be able to get to the hospital in time to get care. One of the things that our founder, David Kelly, talks about is creative confidence. So in order to work in a way where you're owning your expertise and you're working with people who don't really understand what you do and you don't understand what they do, and you're trying things out that you've never done before, you have to sort of get comfortable being uncomfortable. And we think of that as, David calls it creative confidence. So a lot of the students who come to us, whether they're graduate students at Stanford or executives in our executive training programs or whatever, are really sharp analytical thinkers and abductive reasoners, right? So their whole lives they've been rewarded for surveying the landscape and coming up with the right answer. And now there are many problems where you want to come up with as many answers as possible. And so that divergent thinking is something that we think exists in everyone, but hasn't necessarily been developed and rewarded in traditional schooling. And so we focus on creative thinking, and the process sort of toggles back and forth between those two mindsets. So sometimes you're really focusing. You're trying to say, what's the problem we're trying to solve? And then other times you're setting aside all that decision making and you're just coming up with as many ideas as you can. And by purposefully separating those two ways of working, you take advantage, the maximum advantage of each mode. If you want to create something unique or innovative, then you have to do something different. And a lot of people who are highly accomplished, you get really comfortable doing what has led to your success. So how do you take what you're really good at and apply it in an unconventional way? That's where the magic can happen. But the way that you do that is you have to really seek the uncomfortable. You have to try something that you might fail at.